And once again, we are back here on Living in the 21st Century. Joining me today is Vasyl Shevchenko, former transportation minister in the Ukraine. Vasyl, it's a pleasure to have you here again. And I know it's not the most comfortable place to be at this joint, but I want to answer this question. I heard recently that it appears that Russia is capturing quite a bit of the Ukraine, and it may not be a possibility to retrieve that piece of land. Is that so?
To be honest, according to the headquarter Ukrainian forces opinion, that we have really cruel battles at the east of Ukraine. I don't know where Ukrainian forces not fighting according to our opportunities. But to be honest, at the east part of Ukraine, they decided to eliminate Ukrainian cities. And it's industry cities, which one of them was providing Ukraine petrol and diesel, for example. Now this plant is eliminated. They are using Second World War tactics, so-called Scotch ears tactic, and they eliminate Ukrainian cities and civilians, block flats and private houses. And before to move back, Ukrainian forces try to do their best, and only if they don't have reason can move for short distance, just to take second defense line. And I'd say that they are trying to capture, and they concentrated Russia's troops at this direction 5 or 6 times more than Ukrainians. They are using long-range artillery, and they are using long-range cruise missiles to frighten Ukrainians, and they are using a lot of ammunition. For example, only for last couple of days, they have launched to Ukraine missiles, hypersonic missiles, for about 200,000 millions. And it means that they tried to achieve results which were put for them from politicians, because it isn't war it isn't war when we can tell that army is fighting against army. They are fighting against civilian. For example, I'd say that today they have killed in Odessa region 19 civilian Ukrainians by missiles which was launched from Black Sea region. And it's southern part of Odessa region. And these people didn't expect that they would be attacked by Russia's military. And yesterday they launched a lot of Russia's missiles from different points. For example, they are using old technologies, so-called Ha-22 warships missiles against civilian cities. And at the same time, I'd say that Ukrainian troops were success and took back a couple of cities at the south of Ukraine, because there are we have more artillery, and we have last technologies. Artillery systems we received from United States and from European Union. But they know that Ukraine is armed by our friends, and they try to use against these artillery systems all technologies, missiles which has range the same or bigger range than this artillery system, just to eliminate them. But Ukrainians forces maneuvering and making a lot of damages for Russia troops. For example, during the last couple of days, Ukrainian forces eliminated occupiers who occupied Ukrainian Snake Island and liberated from Russian troops. In this battle, Ukrainian forces used last technologies against warships, missiles to eliminate Russia's warships, and Ukrainian made artillery system Bogdan, which allowed us to liberate this island. And now it little bit better to build new routes for export Ukrainians materials. First of all, export Ukrainian food for all markets around the world, because we are responsible for supplying food around the world, and we do it. And I'd say that this battles show that sometimes we are limited in ammunition and have no enough ammunition and have no enough sophisticated military technologies. For example, we don't have enough warplanes, fighters, which would allow us to eliminate enemies' anti-aircraft system, which would allow to provide control from Ukrainian sides, which would allow us to make our defense system stronger. And because of it, we asked, better to say, our government and military officials asked our allies from around the world and from NATO member countries to give us Americans F-16 or F-15 military aircrafts, which would allow us to strengthen our defense system and to have plans to liberate our territory. And because of it, there are a lot of changes in quality of system we have received, but we understand that if we receive a couple of sophisticated artillery system, Russia provides their forces for few hundreds this type of system, and using technology I have said Scotch ears, and they are slowly trying to move at the west of Ukraine. But we are sure that our troops will be fighting against Russians at the all battles, and now we can understand that Russia hold negotiations with Belarus, and now we understand that we are under threat of next operation against Ukraine from Belarus side. Okay. And it's really dangerous situation, and Ukrainians expecting that it wouldn't happen because we understand that they will try to occupy Ukraine from different sizes, and will make a lot of different strikes around Ukraine. They do it every day. And because of it, for example, I'd tell that now Great Britain invited Ukrainian soldiers to be taught because we cannot gather a lot of soldiers in the same place because of missiles strike threat. And we really thankful our friends who help us and who cooperate with us in this sphere, and who believe that we are able to win in this cruel battle. Yes.
Sorry. My question to you, at this juncture on the battlefield, is Ukrainian soldiers on the offensive side or on the defensive side right now? Sorry.
But I'd tell that at the east part of Ukraine, there are a lot of different battles. For example, in Lugansk and Donetsk region, they are trying to offense, and sometimes they manage to move for 1 or 2 kilometers from their previous positions. But Ukrainian forces moving back in only one case, that there are not fortifications or there are not any Ukrainian soldiers just to take next defense line, because they using long-range artillery aviation in this region because of really serious anti-aircraft system and long-range missile system, and it doesn't allow Ukrainian forces to use military aircrafts in this part. But situation is slightly different at the south of Ukraine, where Ukrainian forces are moving ahead, and there were a lot of offensive operation, or better to say, counter operation against Russia's troops, and Ukrainian forces have liberated a lot of Ukrainian cities. But Ukrainian forces cannot move fast because of really serious artillery shelling and really serious threat from missiles attack. But there were a lot of success bombing operation from Ukrainian air forces, and it allowed us to move ahead for dozen kilometers. And because of it, we can tell that we are waging war against Russia troops, and now situation is really difficult, and because of it, all Ukrainians understand it, and we try to support Ukrainian forces, Ukrainian soldiers, and trying to do our best to help our forces.
Excellent. What is the death toll? What is the death toll on the Russian soldiers right now? Do you have an idea?
I know that the death toll at the Russia side is coming to 40,000 of soldiers who were killed in Ukraine, and who is selling to Ukraine by power to be killed here. And they have lost more than 220 Russia's military aircraft, and about 200 helicopters who were shot down by Ukrainian soldiers with new technologies, anti-aircraft system, which were provided from Great Britain and United States for infantry soldiers. It's short-range missiles, but it allows us to fight against helicopters and low-flying aircraft. Now we understand that it's really difficult to provide Ukraine this type of weapon, and we understand that there are a lot of threats with the transporting along Ukraine because of attempts to attack. But we understand that they don't have high sophisticated missiles, and they launch all technologies missiles which cannot get exactly to target. And as usual, they are shelling civilians and killing civilians who lives close to the target that they maybe wanted to hit. And what's more, now we have a lot of problem with ammunition for artillery we received from our allies and our friends. Because, for example, according to the information from the battlefield, for every Russians shoot every 10 Russian shoots, we can answer only one. And because we are limited, and because of it, headquarters commander opinion is
I think
based.
you lose some volume. Well, if you can hear me, Vasyl, I want to ask you one question. What is the support of the Allied forces to Ukraine right now? Is it the same military support you're getting, like it first started?
First of all, as far as I know, there are a lot of discussions concerning providing Ukrainian forces aircraft, and it's a good idea. And I know that American parliamentarians, who's former pilot, knows Ukrainians' pilot opportunities, and who's registered draft of law concerning teaching Ukrainian pilots to fly at F-15 and F-16 aircraft, which would allow us to strengthen our forces. And now we can speak that now we need building anti-missile system because we have only anti-aircraft system. It's different type of system because Russia use against Ukraine hypersonic missiles and missiles whose speed, which speed is over 1,000 kilometers an hour. And it's technology Ukraine doesn't have. And yesterday we received information that United States confirmed that they are ready to supply to Ukraine to launch system which allow us to prevent shelling Ukrainian systems. But Ukraine territory is biggest in Europe, and I don't think that we will be able to defend all Ukrainians' territory. But it's a good idea, and it's good. I'd say the best help for battle line and biggest Ukrainian city. Because Russia's troops are targeting to Ukrainians' biggest cities where lives about 1 million people. And if we have opportunity,
I want to say thank you, Vasyl, for tuning in. We definitely would continue this conversation on the next time. And for all those who are tuning in on Living in the 21st Century, have a nice day. Bye-bye.